Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Credential Up Houston. My name is Margaret Ford Fisher. This program focuses on advocacy work that is being conducted to support teaching and learning in the state of Texas. Our guest today is Mr. Richard Moore, the Executive Director of the Texas Community College Teachers Association, better known as TCCTA, which is one of the largest professional associations in the state of Texas with over 6,000 members. Mr. Moore, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome, and I'm just so delighted that you came here from Austin, Texas, previously from San Antonio, the
By
Texas
way of San Antonio, that's right, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on these days.
Yes, indeed. So this, of course, will benefit all of us as we look at TCCTA and the great work that you have been doing and you're continuing to do. And you know, as I was preparing for our conversation today, I was reading a number of publications and came across an interesting series of articles in EDUCAUSE and saw a statement that I wanted to share with you to get your feedback on. And this was written by Ted Mitchell, the ACE president, and he said the following. He said, and I quote, "As a result of changing demographics and digital transformation, the next generation of higher education will be vibrant, thriving, and more important than ever to U.S. social and economic progress." So I'd like to find out, what is your position about that statement, and how will those changes impact how TCCTA advocates for educators?
Well, I think that statement captures what a lot of people are focused on right now. I mean, that's really the focus that that we have as an organization, and I think that the state of Texas has. That's the motivation behind the entire 60 by 30 TX agenda. The overarching policy construct for Texas higher education is to create an educational system that supports the needs of our students, to be adult citizens in a democracy, to be contributing members of society, to have a prosperous economy in Texas. There's an awful lot at stake in Texas right now that we get higher education right. And there's so many changes happening in terms of technology, social changes in the state, and we have to adapt our educational model to address those changes. And there are a lot of opportunities in that. I think the word vibrant is a good word to describe what we have ahead. It's also high risk. If we got it wrong, there would be all kinds of dislocations and disruptions that would come of that. So this is a very high priority issue for the state of Texas.
And of course, as you indicated, it rightfully should be. And one wonders about the digital divide and how is that going to be addressed, because there are so many residents within the state of Texas who are not computer literate and who do not have a high school diploma or GED or the high school equivalency credential. So how do we address that?
That's a key issue in this. I was on an advisory committee last year to address dual credit issues in Texas, and this is just one place that this question comes up. But we were trying to see what sort of consensus we can find across the state in terms of dual credit, how we create a dual credit model and how we deliver dual credit in the state. It included the commissioners of the Higher Education Coordinating Board, TEA, the Texas Workforce Commission, representatives from the university systems and the community college, Texas Association of Community Colleges. Philanthropy was there, all the big funders for the innovation that's happening. They tried to get everyone around the table to see what we could work out. And at the top of the agenda really had to do with access and equity. And the way you slice these things, it's interesting to me because a lot of it has to do with family background. Did your parents go to college or not? That is a big predictor of students' persistence through higher education. Another divide had to do with geography, that a large urban area like Houston is going to have very different opportunities and constraints on it than places, say, in West Texas or up in the Panhandle. And so how do you make sure that we have digital access for students in very remote parts of the state? And making sure that all students have access is the key. I think we've always seen higher education generally, including higher education, as being the equalizer. It's the thing that in a capitalist system, you have to give everyone an equal footing where we all have a chance to succeed. And if education is not doing that, then it creates a lot of inequity and can create problems like a permanent underclass where people just don't see a way forward. And it has always been my observation that community colleges in Texas are the best opportunity a student can have. It's the thing that makes opportunity possible, gives them access to a viable life. If we didn't have community colleges in Texas, we'd need to invent them because nothing else delivers that opportunity.
You are so right about that as well, because so many countries do not have the community college model.
That's right.
And they're looking to us as well to help them to upskill their workforce, because you're looking at advancing technologies, and who will do that work if you don't have a citizenry that is well educated and prepared to perform those functions. And so that's one of the things that we are concerned about in the state of Texas as well, and the impact that it will have on businesses that are located in our cities in the state.
Well, between 2010 and 2016, about 8.5 million of the 12 million jobs that were created required a college degree. And that's only going to increase. And if we're not providing access for students and opportunities for them to succeed, they won't be prepared for the jobs that are available. And that affects employers as well. Yeah. So we all have a stake in us getting this right.
We certainly do. And that is why TCCTA is so critically important, to have those conversations and to raise the consciousness of everyone who's involved, and to bring best practices also that people can share and to learn from each other. Now, I'm thinking particularly about the models that you made reference to. Obviously, one model will not be sufficient to fit all of those different groups. So what do you have in mind about that?
So a number of years ago, our organization really saw as our strength, the thing we do best is we connect people, institutions, resources, and ideas. And we have seen that extremely relevant in this kind of work, because it is in the nature of the challenge we're talking about right now that it requires a team effort. This is not something that you can solve in Austin. This isn't just something a small room full of people can figure out. It's not something that teachers can do in their classrooms by themselves. It's not something a college president can just say, all right, there, let's do this and we've solved it. We all have to get together and see each other as partners in the work. And TCCTA, I think, is in a good position to do that. As you mentioned, we have about 6,000 members, and that includes mostly faculty, but virtually every college president is a member of TCCTA.
Absolutely.
And all through the organization chart, we can draw people together and say, you know what, we have a problem where it would really help if we could get some faculty, get some IT people, get some student services people, get the whoever's in charge of academic programs at the college together to talk about this issue. And by being able to with that kind of reach, we can assemble teams to work on problems. We can put programs together where we do the large community college event in Texas. We'll have about 1,400 people together for our convention. Yes. And that's the one time everybody from all 86 colleges in Texas get together in one room to really talk about what's on their mind. And being able to have that shared conversation allows each person to see the work that they're doing from a different point of view. And that helps them understand, I really do need these other partners in this work. This really is important that they're engaged in it as well. And it also helps them understand the pressures they're under. That this is why our college is focused on this issue right now, because we're getting pressure from employers, from the community, from the legislature to put together a system, an answer to a problem that we're facing. So that's why we have the priorities that we do.
And of course, and as a result of the advocacy work that you do as well, and the partners that you're bringing to the table, you're working with the legislature as well. And so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the transfer bill that was approved by the Senate, and that is now going to the House. And if it hasn't passed today, we'll find out what the prospects are for that. So please stay with us and we'll be right back.
HCC. So many degrees, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
Did you know that Houston Community College has the largest enrollment of online community college students in the United States? Hi, I'm Paul Calhoun. The HCC Online College proudly enrolls over 20,000 students. We offer more than 30 online degree and certificate programs, as well as online student services, including admissions, advising, counseling, and technical support. HCC Online College, anywhere, anytime. For more information, visit our website, hccs.edu/online.
Hello, welcome back to Credential Up Houston. My name is Margaret Ford Fisher. We're here today with Mr. Richard Moore, who is Executive Director of TCCTA, Texas Community College Teachers Association. And this is an organization that is working professionally with teachers, with librarians, with counselors, educators throughout the state in order to help improve teaching and learning. And so we thank you so very much for joining us. And so being an advocacy organization, one of the things that we know is that you work closely with the legislature as well, in addition to all of the other partners. And so with Senate Bill 25 in that transfer agreement, what would be the steps to implementation if that is passed by the House?
Well, we're very interested in how that that set of bills is moving through the process now. We work very closely with the Texas Association of Community Colleges. I meet with them every Monday morning to talk about what's happening in the legislature, and this has been one of the key focus for us is on this legislation. Senator West wants to do something substantive on transfer, and he recognizes the problems of not having a good transfer system in the state, and it creates too much unpredictability for students. They take classes at a community college, and then all bets are off when they take those hours to another school. Senate Bill 25 has some issues that we are extremely concerned about. It reduces the core from 42 hours to 24 hours, plus 18 hours in the content area, the major or the field of study. That creates a lot of uncertainty for students, and we're worried that it will inhibit transfer and put a ceiling on how many hours a student can take with them at the next institution. We are firmly committed to the 42-hour core. We helped develop it when it was created, and we've seen a lot of good things that have come from that for students. And so while we do think the core needs a look, that's something that constantly needs to be reviewed, we want to do it in a way that's in the best interest of students. There are some provisions in the bill that we're extremely supportive of in terms of course sequencing, and that portion of the bill we'd like to see passed as is. Beyond that, I think this is an issue that really is not yet ready, and what we would propose is that if we could pass the Section A of the bill and continue to work on these other issues during the interim, we could come back next session with something that's ripe and ready to pass and actually make a part of our system. So that's what we hope comes of it, and in talking with Senator West, I think he wants to make sure that we pass a bill that's going to that's ready and is going to have a good impact on students, and so we hope that's the direction this goes.
And so are the members of TCCTA getting involved in this conversation now locally?
Yes, this is actually right at the core of our work. So we have a lobbyist that's at the Capitol every day. He swims around that world and loves it and is very, very good at it. But the value of our organization is in our members, and so we sent out an email this past week to our members to let them know this is an issue that is, there's some movement on it right now, and we want to let you know that it's being discussed. At some point, we may ask our members to call, and when we do, they always step up and let their legislators know their point of view on legislation. We do this as a genuine grassroots organization. We don't create forms that, petitions and things that our members just sign their name to. They come with their own words, and they say, this is an issue that affects me in my classroom, in my program, on my campus, and this is something that I have a point of view that can help a legislator make a good decision. And that kind of genuine engagement has a big impact. Legislators really do care, and I have to say, the care that legislators in Texas have is remarkable. They really don't want to mess things up. They want to get things right. And so getting that feedback from the people that are in the best position to know how this would play out in a classroom is feedback that they seek out and respond to.
Of course, you're right there again. And of course, one of the comments that you made earlier referenced the need for diverse models as well in reaching the populations of students that we serve at community colleges and creating that seamless pathway for them. So you were going to talk about some of those models related to innovation, particularly that I find to be very intriguing.
Well, and transfer is one good example of that.
Yeah.
Transfer is not something one person can do. You and I can't sit here and figure it out.
That's right.
And make anything happen.
That's
it's
right.
something that is going to involve elected officials. It's going to require their staffs. They're experts, many of them in Austin, but also in Houston, who know a tremendous amount about these issues and do research and study and come up with the data to support decisions. There are practitioners on campuses. There are college leaders that have a lot to contribute to the discussion. And we need all of those people involved. At our convention a couple of years ago, I had been getting calls from faculty saying, I understand the student success movement is important, it's a big deal, everybody's talking about it, I care about it, but I can't get my arms around it. Can you help me understand what we're talking about? Things like guided pathways, like dual credit, immensely complicated issues, and it's hard to really see it from every angle. And so we had a panel discussion. Steve Head is the chancellor of the Lone Star College system. We had Paul Markham, who at the time was running the higher education work for the Gates Foundation in Seattle. We had Melissa Henderson with Educate Texas. We had a dean from South Plains College in Levelland, a faculty member at Austin Community College, and Steve Johnson, who was with the Texas Association of Community Colleges. You couldn't find a more diverse group of people, and that was the point. Let's all get together and talk about what this work looks like from our point of view, and then listen to what each other has to say. And we had about 500 faculty members in the room listening to all this, and I asked many of them afterwards, what did you hear? What did that conversation mean to you? And many of them said, I think I really understand where this is coming from. Why do we care so much about these particular issues? There are lots of things to care about. Why these? And this really helped me understand why these are the priorities and why many of the things that are happening on my campus are happening, because they're coming from this conversation and these factors that are coming together to lead to action on campus. And it's that sort of shared conversation that I think moves things forward.
That's
and at
true.
the schools where I'm seeing the most work, the best results happening, are where you have those kinds of convenings.
Those convenings are critical. And I watched that podcast. And I thought it was excellent. Now, one point that was made that I thought was very interesting in that podcast, and I don't remember who made the statement. How do you get the legislators more acquainted with what goes on at the community colleges in their local areas?
So this past year, March, we were in Houston for our convention, and Evan Smith, the editor or the CEO of the Texas Tribune, spoke. He and I had a conversation. He's like a fire hydrant. He just brings so much. It was fantastic. But I asked him to talk about what is the context we're operating in. Why are we responding to things? What's happening that's causing us to do this kind of massive change? And he really brought a lot of perspective. He's going to community colleges around the state and having convenings, town hall meetings on community college campuses. And he's inviting elected officials from the legislature, the mayor of the city might be there, city council members, education leaders, employers, community leaders, to talk about the impact that their community college is having on their community. And it's an eye-opening experience for many legislators who are saying, I think I get it now. We can't do what we need to do in Houston without Houston Community College, and I'm seeing the role that they play. And that's where I think that he is really adding a lot to the conversation.
Well, that's a great way to move forward. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to take a look at the Chronicle of Higher Education and the article that is referencing Reclaiming America's Dream and some of those issues. So we hope that you please stay with us.
HCC. So many careers, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
I've seen people's lives change just by attending a class at HCC.
Some of them might not have the financial means to go to a four-year university. That doesn't make them any less quote-unquote smart than the kids who go to a four-year school.
HCC is easy to get to. It's easy to apply and easy to become a part of.
It gave me so much confidence.
Once you finish your 2 years there, you can transition into a four-year university or go into the workforce.
It's affordable, it's accessible, it changes lives.
Hello, welcome back to Credential Up Houston. We're having a conversation about education today with Mr. Richard Moore, Executive Director of the Texas Community College Teachers Association. And so, Mr. Moore, before we went to break, we were talking about some of the new models. And in the April 19th Chronicle of Higher Education, there was reference made to the Reclaiming America's Dream that was developed a number of years ago by a commission established by the American Association of Community Colleges. And there were some points that were mentioned that community colleges really should focus on. And so I'll go down this list quickly and ask you for your general response to these. One is low graduation rates, which we know is the case at many post-secondary institutions. A student is not prepared for college. How do we create that partnership to address that? The wide skills gap with the students being ill-prepared in some instances to go on into the workforce. Not necessarily that the colleges are somehow or the other in a deficit model, but given the populations that we have to serve, how do we increase what we do in order to address those needs? Institutions should redefine the mission to meet the needs of the 21st century. Minimal collaboration between schools, lack of community support, and lackluster results. So what are your thoughts about all of those in a nutshell?
Okay, that's a lot to address in just a few minutes, but I think what that reflects is a growing awareness across higher education that we need to take a comprehensive look. We can't just focus on things in isolation. There are so many factors that contribute to student success and contribute to students not completing. And if you can't just look at one piece of it, you've got to look at each piece of it. But it's like a car that doesn't have a wheel on it. You've got to look, the whole thing needs to be addressed at once. And we were talking just a few minutes ago about food insecurity and poverty issues in higher education. When I was going to school, nobody talked about that. That was the students' problem, and good luck, hope you figure it out, but that's not what we talk about. We need to talk about it, and a lot of our schools are doing that, and Houston Community College has some great programs that go directly to the issues that keep students from completing a semester because their car broke down or because they lost their job or their child got sick. Dallas County Community College has some fantastic programs where they have food trucks with the area food bank in Dallas that now stops on each campus of the district. And it's bringing a solution directly to the student. And it's taking a lot of the stigma away, saying poverty is not something to be ashamed of. That may be why you're here, is that you don't want to stay in that situation. And so we want to be a part of that solution. And so you look at all of the things having to do with income, but also having to do with student preparation. We need to be dealing with those in a comprehensive and integrated way, and we need to know what each other is doing. Houston is doing some great things the rest of the state needs to know about, and somebody in El Paso is doing something Houston needs to know about. And so the more we can share what's working, the better off we're going to be. On the preparation issue, we're looking for solutions now. The legislature passed a bill that is having us do more co-requisite education, which means that students who are demonstrated not college ready are still put into a college course that's combined with a developmental sequence so that they can ramp up quickly and complete a program. And we are finding there's a lot of research that says that model works very well in certain contexts. It doesn't work for everybody or in every situation, but where it does work, we need to use it. And that kind of innovating and looking around for good ideas and trying new things that we hadn't tried before is where we're going to find those answers.
You're right, and with our Chancellor, Dr. Cesar Maldonado, and our Vice Chancellor of Planning and Effectiveness, Dr. Kurt Ewan, they're working on a model for Houston Connect, Houston Promise, where they are creating those collaborative partnerships to help move Houston toward the solutions that are necessary to advance education and training for more Houstonians, which is really going to be critically important. So as we look at the future and we try to anticipate what the future holds, there's a lady by the name of Dr. Marina Gorbis. She's the executive director of the Institute for the Future. She says that there are 5 core principles for future thinking. So we have to forget about predictions, focus on signals, look back to see forward, uncover patterns, and create a community. Exactly what you're saying.
And that, I think that goes right to something that our members care deeply about.
Yes.
We offer an awful lot of continuing education programs and workforce programs. We also offer a lot of liberal arts and fine arts programs. And sometimes the people in liberal arts and fine arts get very nervous if it's all about workforce. And they say, well, I teach sociology or I teach philosophy. What if that doesn't immediately lead to a job? And I think the case needs to be made because the evidence is there that someone with a philosophy degree, my older daughter is a philosophy major, and I'm so proud of her. Of course. She will be so equipped for whatever the future brings. Not just one skill, but a whole way of thinking and approaching life that I think is going to equip her for a rapidly changing environment where many of the jobs that will exist don't even exist now. That you need that kind of adaptability and agility to respond. And I think that what Houston Community College is offering is that kind of broad solution.
You're certainly right. And so I know you have a conference coming up, Learning from the Middle, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of productivity, a lot of cross-sharing that's going to be invaluable. And so obviously that is something that I'm sure you're encouraging educators to attend. But I'd like to ask you, since we only have a few seconds left, is to leave us with the pearls of wisdom of what you'd like for us to keep in mind.
I think the main thing to keep in mind is the point of all this. And the point of all this is the student and what the life that we're preparing the student for. And if we're thinking that what we're doing here is going to matter, that they're going to pick up things that they can use from now on, that's how we need to organize our work and our thinking and see it as something that we have to do together.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so very, very much, Mr. Richard Moore, Executive Director of the Texas Community College Teachers Association. This has been a very rich conversation. And we thank you also very much for joining us, and we invite you to join us next time on Credential Up Houston. We'll see you then.